One,
One.
let's go.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!
Ta-da! Hello!
Welcome.
Welcome back to Bridging Universes. And today we have replaced Jack for just one episode with one of my favorite beings on earth, a very creative, does a bunch of amazing things, but also a yogini with 800 hours of teacher training now. So she will be able to teach us something about yoga. And here she is. How are you today? You want to tell us your name?
Hi. I don't know. Should we keep it a secret?
Oh, we have a
Oh,
secret guest.
oh, no. My name is Cecilia. Yeah. Hi.
Hello. How are you feeling today?
I'm good. Yeah. Good. Very relaxed. Had a nice morning, busy morning. Now I'm here sitting down.
Breathing, having a nice chit chat about one of our favorite topics. Did you do yoga today?
I taught yoga. I've done meditation. So yes, I've done my sadhana.
Nice. And I love the word instantly because I was going to ask you about your sadhana later. But first, what is yoga? For those who are listening and who are like, yoga, yeah, I hear that word all the time, but I have no clue. What is yoga?
What is yoga? Mm, there's many ways to answer this, but so yoga is a Sanskrit word and it means union. So it's this like a sacred union that happens. This is me trying to put it into English words. Please remember that Sanskrit is a much more vast language and it will include much more than the English language can even try to comprehend. But yoga would be translated into something like the union, the sacred union that happens between, quite simply said, the individual soul and the supreme soul. So yourself and your higher self, to put it into like more everyday taught or like talked English. And yeah, the Atman or the potential of the soul merging with the universe. You become everything and nothing at once. But besides from that, it is not something that happens in the future. It's something that happens now. So we also must start to see time not as a linear, but something that is happening right now and is ever flowing and spiraling. Um, and besides from that, um, it's also a way of living. It is a path that you choose to walk, quite like many other paths, like Tao, the walk, the path. It is a choice you make every moment to be present. Yeah, it has many layers and also very few, depending on how you wanna look at it. Or where you want to approach it from. But it's very important to understand that yoga is not something that happens on a mat. It is an integrated practice and it's something we do every moment. We choose to be here right now and be one with this moment. And there's many tools, many paths, there's many lineages, there's many different teachings. And they're all included in under the same term. So yoga is many things, but it is definitely a path that you choose to walk in life.
What does it mean to you to choose to walk the path of yoga as a yogini? Like,
Mm.
for
I
you as
think
a
living
person, not in general?
for me as a person, for me, it's living with integrity, but also like it's honoring this codex, but it's formed differently. And I mean, first you learn something, you unlearn it, you learn new things, you constantly unlearn, and the more you learn, the less you actually know. So for me, it's like a constant unfolding. It's very humbling, the practice, and yet empowering. For me, it's the practice itself, like my sadhana is really like, so sadhana would translate to commitment. So for me, it is the thing that is like the key to my life. No? It's like the fire, the commitment I make to every day to show up and also in most moments to stay aware. And yeah, and for as much time as possible, like to be present and to really enjoy being here, but like being present with awareness, trying to approach everything with like honesty, not as in like an excuse to be rude and say things that maybe are not so nice, but more like being honest about my being and my surroundings. And at the same time, also for me over the years and with the time, it's really like helped me, let's say, just like settle the shoulders down and breathe and really be here. It's like it just dismantles like this armor that maybe we grew up with. At least I grew up with, I guess, to some degree. But for me, it also means like having fun, you know, being playful, being in like this yeah, like the mind state or like the level of a child almost, you know, approaching life with innocence, not ignorance, but innocence. Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful way to describe it. As someone who knows Cecilia pretty well, I would say you can absolutely say that she has this innocence, joyful, like, around her, which I absolutely adore. And I think I really, really resonate as well with what you said of like being present, because so often if we talk about yoga, especially in Europe or where both of us grew up, like we think, oh, yoga is like I go to the yoga school and then I do like a few asanas, which are like positions, and then I'm a yogi or I'm a yogini. And that doesn't always bring you so present in the moment, and it doesn't really tie you back to the body. Because for me, what I really adore about yoga as well is like, yes, you use the physical body, but it is a tool and you kind of like sink in just as much as you use all the philosophy and all the spirituality, but it is also a tool. It's not like, oh, I'm a yogi, so now I'm this, this, and this. It's like, I am me and I choose to walk this path of integrity. So I will find the path that is right for me in the way that it feels right to me, that feels really present in the body. And I'm even like, almost hugging myself. Like it feels such like a personal path as well, which is really interesting. Since when I was younger, when I first started doing yoga, I almost saw it like I was 17, 18. I almost saw it as a workout. Like I would go to like the Bikram yoga and like super fast vinyasa flows in 40 degrees and like, ah! And then later I realized like if you see me do yoga now, it's way more in stillness and way more pranayama and calmer, I would say, than the workouts. Like I need to go to the gym besides my yoga to actually stay fit. And I think that that is such a big difference with how when I first started doing yoga, I saw it because I was like, no, this is the way I keep my body fit. And it is, but it's not a workout.
No. I mean, it's important to understand that for me, there's like
Mhm.
four main branches of yoga. There's many ways to explain it and to describe it, especially like for the Western mind. But there's is an integrated practice. So I mean, definitely asana is a big part of it as well. It's sacred geometry, you know. It's like it's opening up the channels so that the energy can run through all of the nadi so that the prana can run. So it's definitely like an essential part of the whole yogic practice of your sadhana, but you're not doing that 24 hours a day. Um, but karma yoga, doing good deeds without expecting anything in return, bhakti yoga, devotion, and raja, the royal path, Dhyana, the path of knowledge, they're all branches springing out from the same tree. So it's equally as important to yeah, to spend time in devotion, to sing, to dance, depending on what your path is. And also, I mean, in the end, yoga is nothing but the journey of the self to the self. So it's a very individual journey. And whatever it looks like for you, it's yeah, it would be your unique like imprint of what this path means, because I cannot tell you what it's gonna feel like, look like, taste like, smell like, whatever for you, you know. That's your part of the journey. It's so individual, like what we see, what we experience, because we are all so unique, but we all meet at the same point, huh? Like it's silence. Yeah, the silence that lies behind everything. We will all return to the same thing. We all came from the same thing. But while we're here, we have to also enjoy, you know, life in this realm. And yoga is just essentially preparing you to really be here at like this middle point. Yeah, for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like yoga to me has this beautiful way of like individuality and at the same time community, because you share yoga with so many people and you share perspectives with so many people. Like I can talk yoga any day. Like I love it. But at the same time, it is a really personal experience and it's a really profound experience for the self. Well, it is not only for the self, because the more I find the self back, the more I realize, oh, we're all one. Like, I'm doing this and I'm feeling this, but this plant next to me and this human in this other country, we're all one and we're all the same and we're all equal. So I feel like it has this beautiful little play between moving inside and finding that individuality for yourself while being so aware and so much acknowledgement for all of us are together and all of us are equal and we're all like this togetherness in this community.
Yeah. Sangha means so much. You really need it, especially when you like go deep into the practice and more like pranayama based. It really helps also to have like other individuals on the path to like mirror yourself and your experience in, because it can be as blissful and full of ecstasy, can be super intense and like very deep, and sometimes you're really exploring like nothingness and the void. It can feel as heavy and as light. So it's really like essential to have sangha, like community, other people around you on the same path.
Absolutely. What do you feel like is one of your most significant experiences yet you've had with yoga? Like one of the moments you can really pinpoint and be like, yeah, here it clicked.
Yeah, that's hard. We all work in different ways. So I'm more like some people it's very spontaneous, they crack open. For me it's more like a glacier melting slowly. Yeah, so it's like a very slow unfolding. But I think most profoundly for me was actually just the first time I practiced. I think. I mean, I was always drawn to the practice. And I remember
Mhm.
like I saw this poster saying like yoga, 3 hours, New Year's, and with champagne and a cake or whatever. And I was like, sounds like a nice way to like join. And actually, I just joined because I mean, I was drawn to it. My soul was drawn to it for a long time, but I was like waiting a little bit, I guess. And I had actually just a little bit of like discomfort around my shoulder, so I thought it would be nice with some movement. and and I joined. And I think I was just so like baffled over what it did to me. Just like first of all, it was very difficult. It was vinyasa class, and then it was deeper stretches later. I was like, okay, she's doing this, she's doing this. I'm following her. This lady, she was strong. She was like 50 something and going strong. And I was like, how does she even do that? You know, it was so impressive, like so much vitality. But yeah, I was just amazed of like combining the breath and the movement. And for the first time in my life, I did something like, let's say I viewed it as a sport like when I did it first time. And so I was doing all of a sudden a sport that gave me energy. It didn't take energy. It didn't cost me energy. And I got this like, this rush of energy and like this feeling of like softness and like calmness in my body, my nervous system, everything just relaxed. And I was like, wow, what is this? You know, for like 2 hours after or something, I had this like magical protective shield around. And so I was hooked. I was like, I gotta do more of this. So I started joining like this lady's classes. She was doing like deep yin stretches. It was nice. I started attending classes in the gym, vinyasas, like a lot of movement. And for the first, I even want to say year, like I would go to a class and like nothing could touch me. It would be like you could go and you could say the most horrible thing to me, or I don't know. I mean, probably there's like a limit, but it felt like that. Like anything could happen, and I would just be so much like in my center, like connected to my being in the moment, and like this state of bliss, you know, like the Ananda, like Ananda Maya. So really like being in like this bliss body after the practice, it was like it just peeled off the layers, and I'm very sensitive already. So I think that's like my slow but profound experience. I mean, then going on later, I really, for me, it was a very slow process. I did after a year and a half of practicing, I did my first teacher training, which was extremely intense, and I get a lot of shedding. And I just turned 21, was in Nepal, first time left my country, and I just realized, wow, I knew nothing about what yoga was. Like it was so much more. There was like so much tradition, so much knowledge. I always loved the knowledge side. So that was also, I mean, really profound. I had so many releases. I didn't even know you could feel like that. um, and as time passed, later I discovered like, so my first teacher, he told me, he taught us pranayama.
Mhm.
And the breath is actually what really I think connected me and was is through the breath that I've had my most profound experiences. he taught us pranayama in class, like you have to in the classic 200 hours. And but he also told us that if you haven't practiced breath or pranayama for 3 years, you cannot teach it. And this is just one part. As it was my first training, everything they say, you say, this is the only truth. You do more trainings, you progress, and you're like, okay, there's many truths. Yeah. But when you're like at that stage. So actually I didn't do much like with the breathing. I also saw Kundalini classes, but I always said like, no, 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 not now. And then time passed and I did my first like a Kriya based Kundalini class, which is very intense from like the lineage of Bhajan. But I was amazed because it, like after so many years, I want to say so many, but maybe it wasn't that many. Like maybe it was like 5 years of practicing. I tried it for the first time, and it just took me back to the same feeling I had in the beginning. So like this profound like feeling of just really melting into bliss. And I was like, wow, there it was. That's exactly what I was looking for. And I kept practicing by myself. And then my last training was in Vedantic Himalayan Kriya Yoga at Sadhva Academy in Rishikesh. It's not a paid commercial, but um, that really shifted like everything. And I had so many really, really, again, I just want to say profound like experiences of just like really connecting with the bliss body, but also really exploring the void. And it would send me like, yeah, almost project me into like other places, and yeah, the mind just does curious things when you're working with breath and retention. Yeah. So I have many
I
profound experiences, but yeah. Yeah, you?
I absolutely agree with the mind. There's many, many things when we work with the breath. Like for me as well, like when I started doing yoga, it was really like the vinyasa base, very, very Western, I would say. And
Yeah.
I started with the YouTube videos and then I started going to yoga classes and like very much, how do I say this? Very much like, oh my God, I'm gonna drink a cappuccino and go to my class, like type of yoga girl. I was that, 100%. Like I
Cute.
would go at 6 in the morning and then go to my office and work. And I loved it. But besides that, I was still doing different spiritual practices as well. Like I was doing my meditations at home and my energy work at home. So it was kind of like disconnected from each other. And I remember the first time I did indeed also a Kundalini Kriya yoga class, I was like baffled. It was really like coming home, I would say. And I have the same feeling with yin yoga because yin yoga really calms me down and Kundalini Kriya is way more fire and I have a lot of fire inside of me. So for me, it was like, I'm coming home, which was amazing. But I also want to say with it, like, I am always a bit cautious with Kundalini and using the term Kundalini because I feel like there are so many misconceptions about Kundalini, especially in the Western world. And I also feel like it can sometimes, it's a very fast track, I would say. Like it can bring you places very, very fast. But then you also really need the tools and the mentors to help you through that and the community and also the stability in yourself. Because when I was doing I did a Kundalini Kriya yoga class also around Rishikesh. And I remember like 5 days in, I went to my teacher crying and I was like, I don't know what's happening. Like, I feel like I took a bottle of acid and it never stops. Like, what is
Yeah.
going on? And for the record, I did not take any substances. I was only eating vegetarian Indian food at the ashram and maybe some chocolate on the side. Like,
Lots of
that was
chocolate.
it. I had a chocolate date every day.
Chocolate balls, they're really good.
Oh, they're really good. Yeah. But I was crying and I was like, I don't know what's happening. I don't see the difference between having my eyes open and my eyes closed. Like,
Mm.
and it sounds so stupid when I say it like this, and it's such an experience that is difficult to explain, except for when you've experienced it yourself. But there also it was really beautiful in the end. And one of my teachers really helped me. And she was like, we're going to ground you. You're going to be okay. Stay in Balasana for hours. And I was like, okay. Laying there in dog pose, like, But it really worked, and that really describes for me how profound your experiences can be with just simply moving the body, your intention, your meditations, and most of all, the breath. Like, it can bring you the most beautiful breakthroughs and new perspectives. It can bring you the most painful, harsh realizations of moments where maybe you've betrayed yourself a little bit, and it can bring you just complete ecstasy and anything in between. And I think that for me, that is what Kundalini Kriya Yoga is. But it's also a way of really refining your own power and finding your way of living. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions behind like Kundalini, and it can be spontaneous for you. Like you have like the spontaneous like feelings. Like it's if we do it like very slowly, it will also rise like very slowly. So there's many different ways of it, and the Kundalini is nothing but the potential of the Atman. You know, it's like it's the potential of the individual soul. It's your potential. It's like it's basically the essence of you. But nothing more. It's nothing like crazy. It's nothing that you're not already experiencing. And there's not the one person on earth that I don't believe that already have experienced a little awake moment, you know, when you just look around and everything is just nothing but perfect and beautiful, like exactly the way it is. And it's nothing like mystical, or maybe it is mystical, but you know, it's like, it's right here. It's right
It
here if you
is.
will allow it, if you will allow it to really like enter the moment.
I
Yeah.
feel like with doing the preparing practices as well, because, like, of course, yes, there are spontaneous Kundalini activations, but I also really believe in the path of like, you have to prepare the body, you have to put in the work and the effort for you to actually be able to hold the energy and to integrate it, except for it can also be just a one-time experience and then you kind of lose it, or it can be an integrated practice. But doing those practices to really prepare the body and to go into like the lower chakras instead of being here and like, dee, 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 I want to be able to see everything. Just to really like work with the muladhara, like the root, and like how do you ground yourself. I feel like even, especially in those things, you can have such profound experiences as well of really feeling safety in the body and at home and grounded and centered. And sometimes we forget how profound these experiences can be because we're so hyper focused on, I want to see everything and feel everything and like I want to go into space.
Yeah, but we're also like little babies, you know? If you would tell a yogi, like a real yogi or a guru, oh, I've done 200 hours, I'm a teacher, they would be like, 200 hours, what do you mean? You know, it's about the effort you put into it after. This will lay like the base for you, but it's about like how much you honor this walk that you're choosing to walk, you know? They would just laugh. They would be like, 200 hours, what do you mean? Because it's like there's no way we can grasp such a concept in like less than a month.
Absolutely.
Mm. And so I think it's quite natural that we get like super excited when we have little glimpses, but like it would take like through consistent practice, it could take lifetimes to even like get a glimpse of real silence or samadhi. I mean, the kriya path or the breath fuel, like the breath fueled path, or using pranayama or kundalini, whatever you want to use, it is definitely a fast track. Just like tantra as well, classical tantra. But
Mhm.
yoga, the practice of yoga is like mm, the structure. So it's actually just preparing us to enter the state of tantra. Yeah. Because once, I mean, some okay sages, they will sit in a cave and they will do a lot of meditation and just like enjoy bliss flowing through them. But in essentially, like this practice is just preparing us to be here, to enter the state of tantra. So it's like a path,
When you say classical tantra, do you want to explain what you mean by that?
not neo tantra, not like new Western versions of tantra that are very mm, maybe a little bit more vulgar, but that's like my view on it. Some would say like maybe like very sexually connected. When I say classical tantra, I mean like the classical path of either Shaivism or Shakta tantra. My training was in Shakta tantra, but I won't get much into it because it's my private connection with the practice. But the classical studies of Tantra are more about devotion and being here, and we use different rituals, not so much about like intercourse or having sex. Actually, in fact, in Tantra, they will use sex to um, to get beyond the desire to want sex, to be driven by your animalistic nature. Yeah, they will use it to rise from the bottom triangle to the higher triangle, to be in bliss and in harmony with the universe. Yeah, so it will be like the study of the goddesses, the worship of the goddesses. Yeah, yeah. There's much to it. I mean, it's massive, but it's also right here and like, it's small and it's big and it's everything. But it's how to engage with everyday life, according to like, let's say some patterns, some universal patterns. But you would have to study, if someone is listening, they will have to study themselves and find their own way. So the tantrikas, they just laid out a map, and you have to figure out how to use that map. Yeah, and what it
I
means for
think,
you.
yeah, that's a beautiful way of describing it. And I think a very practical example of like differences in viewing Kundalini and viewing Tantra. Like, if you would type in Kundalini, you get quite a bit of sexualized content, I would say, on the internet. I think the majority of my teachers of Kundalini yoga were either celibate or they believed that they would only have sex to get a child. Like, there's a really big difference in the way sex plays a role in the Kriya Yoga or in the Tantra path. And with that, I would love to build a little bridge because I feel like, especially as both being very blonde, white girls talking about yoga, there is a really big cultural aspect behind yoga. And I feel for me, it's really important to honor that and to really distinct whether you are appreciating a culture or you're appropriating a culture. And very quickly, appropriating a culture means that you take specific parts of a culture. So, for example, from yoga, and you use that for your own good. So you use it for marketing, you use it to earn a lot of money without giving it the appreciation and the love and the respect that it deserves. And my question to you would be, how do you feel like you can really respect the lineage you've been taught of, respect the culture and all of the beautiful stories behind yoga? Because, for example, every asana, so every yoga posture has a whole story behind it, which we oftentimes don't get into. We say like, oh, let's get into child's pose without actually studying like, okay, where does this pose come from? What is the Sanskrit word? Like, I would love to hear your perspective on how can you appreciate the culture behind it instead of using it for your own good.
Well, it definitely comes down to honoring your teachers, honoring the lineage, making sure you mention and honor where it comes from. Make sure that you also give back, probably, I would say so. Give back also to, let's say, part of that culture. Not in like a way that we're being like, not like with the savior complex, but like as a from like a place of love and respect, and like showing our deepest gratitude, but really like honoring the teachers and the lineages that have opened up to us, and that have chosen to share like these really sacred practices with us. So definitely one, always mentioning. You could always ask as well if you're in doubt. When you're in India, they just well, a lot of the times they're just really excited to share as well. Yeah, I mean, and then the second point, I guess, would also be not to use it for your own, like let's say, financial benefit. Maybe it's okay to make money, but we all need to make money. But if you do, make sure you honor the lineage, but also maybe we want to make sure that we are also, as we come from the western side of the world, we also do have a history of our ancestors colonizing. So we want to make sure that we are decolonizing the concepts, and giving back and really honoring where everything is coming from. And yeah, not just taking and using it for our own personal gain. Yeah. But I have many gurus that will say many like different things, and many teachers that will say many different things. But I would say they're very important key aspects to like consider.
For me, the biggest thing would be honestly to really sit with yourself and think about it. Because so oftentimes we don't spend the time to realize what are my morals, what are my values, what is my stance on this matter, and we just do. And I feel like above everything else, like, yes, we really, really, really have to respect their lineage and we have to name their names and we have to use it in a way that will benefit the world. I feel like the
Mm,
first step is for you to sit down and be like, wait, what am I actually doing? Like, I'm either practicing for myself or I'm teaching this to others. Like, how am I going to teach them with which morals and from which perspective do I want to teach? Which for me would always be from a place of love and respect and sharing something that will help others without saving them, like giving them the tools, but knowing that I cannot save anyone. I cannot help anyone. All I can do is create a space. Actually, one of my teachers from my Kundalini Kriya class said it so beautifully, and I really love her for that. She was like, if you teach Kundalini Kriya yoga, you're doing nothing more and nothing less than creating a space for someone's madness. And you're only able to hold that space for someone else's madness as much as you've met your own madness. And that is
that's
one
true.
of my favorite things, like that line plays in my head every time I teach. And I think that for me it's really honoring that, but also from a place of it's not me doing this. I'm doing this for, of course it's me doing it, but it is not, oh, I am the one who can do this for them. I'm like, no, I'm just sharing what I've been taught and I'm just holding this space, but this person is doing it themselves. And I can give them a lot of beautiful books, and then they can go and discover what Kundalini Yoga, what Tantra, what anything means to them, but going back to the roots of it. And I feel like for me, that's really important as well, to not sit there and be like, I know the truth and I will tell you the truth, because I don't know the truth at all. And the more I learn, the less I know. So how can I sit there and be like, oh, but I know the answers if I don't even know the answers for myself and I'm just on a beautiful path to discover them?
Hmm. Yeah.
And as an inside scoop, I know that you're also a very big fan of yoga philosophy.
Yes.
So, do you want to tell me a little bit about some of your favorite things you've learned through yoga philosophy and what it is? Because I think that a lot of people who know yoga maybe don't even know that there is a whole philosophy behind it.
There's so much to the like to the gyan aspect, I guess. I don't know if it's more like an unlearning, suppose. But also you're learning more and more things, and I feel like every time, even though I go through the same, let's say, like structure of things every time I have a teacher, it's like a new version of the same like same thing or a new aspect of the same thing. It's like watching one object, but like this analogy with like the five blind people touching an elephant, or is it seven or something, from all of these
Yeah.
different aspects. So every time you are blessed enough to have a good teacher in your life, it's like them giving you then the tail, and then another one giving you the ear, and another one giving you the next one giving you a new part of the whole thing. Um, Big things I've learned from the philosophy. It's like, I guess it's like exploring a concept, and then once it like clicks in your everyday life and you start seeing it, it's just I know it's very trippy because it's like embodied. They don't just state concepts, it's something you have to experience. Like the water becoming stiller, the water clearing out, and all of a sudden you can see everything because there's no more like ripples or waves. Or at least you can see more of philosophical concepts. Gee, I don't know, there's so many. I don't know if there's one that's more profound. I feel like they're all super profound. But I mean, from the first time I just like was taught, and the sutras, some of the sutras were translated to me from like every time we've explored these beautiful teachings. That's every time like opening up like a whole new entry point on them. For instance, like my last teacher, Guru, he wouldn't say when you're exploring the yamas and niyamas, maybe you know them like constraints and like yeah, it's like how you live with the world outside and inside. But there's brahmacharya, yeah. Brahma is like
Mhm.
God, and so it's like you wanna. A lot of people translate it to celibacy, but he wouldn't call it celibacy. He would just call all of these aspects like different aspects of consciousness. He wouldn't say it means celibacy. He would say it just means that you're present with God and you can be present with God through another person. Yeah, he would just say it's like another aspect of the nature of consciousness, and then he progresses to he doesn't explain them as like being moral concept moral like conducts or ethics and morals. He just explains it as another quality of how consciousness plays out in like this big play. Um, so there's so many different teachings. I mean, I really also adore the Upanishads. Um, so I could recommend that if you want a recommendation by what's his name? Ignatz something? Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll find it later. Yeah. I don't
I
know. I
think.
think it's like how the concepts become manifest. I don't know. I do know, I think.
One tip I would have on studying like yoga philosophy or any philosophy in general, like if you're lucky enough to be in a position to, for example, do a yoga teacher training, you're gonna learn a lot about yoga philosophy. But not everyone has that privilege. And I feel like being able to buy, for example, the Bhagavad Gita or some of the Yamas, the sutras, or any book about yoga philosophy, but then to make it approachable for yourself, just every once in a while, open it on a specific page, read it, and really sit with that page. Like, not trying to understand the whole concept, but just sitting with the information that gets to you. That is what works for me really well. I do this in every bookshop I go to, actually, with all kind of random books, but I feel like I've done this with a lot of the sutras, like just every once in a while when I feel like, oh, I have the mind space and also like the emotional capacity to learn something new, just really open it, see one of the sutras, sit with it and be like, oh, what does this make me feel? What do I understand? Journal with it and just let it sink in for a while. I feel like that is a way to make it more approachable than to sit down and be like, I'm gonna read the whole Bhagavad Gita in one day. Like,
You
I
can
would
also
really.
open one page every day.
That
Surprise!
sounds more doable. Woohoo! Like, I feel like making it easy, not easy for yourself, but more approachable for yourself is absolutely a nice way of kind of like integrating it in your practice and integrating it in yourself instead of going in overdrive and kind of overdoing it and then giving up after a while and being like, no, it's too much.
I think it's also very important to note that unless you know Sanskrit, you're never going to read the Bhagavad Gita. You're never going to read the sutras. You're never going to read any of it. You're going to read someone's interpretation of the Yoga Sutras by Patanjali. You're going to read someone's interpretation of the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, whatever it might be. So it will be very helpful to read from like many different like authors or many different people who translate it, because in the end, like these teachings and scriptures, they're actually just codes, and so it's for you to decode whatever that means. And that's why when you read someone's take on the yamas and yamas, it will mean one thing, and another person will mean a complete different thing, because they understand existence maybe in a different way. And so it's easier to form your picture of what it is through these different people that have, yeah, kind of channeled for you or decoded through their own understanding. So it's there's a lot to consider, but also it's just about getting started.
Just starting anywhere, to be honest. And I feel like this is also a beautiful little bridge back to what we were speaking about earlier about individualism and community and unity. Like everyone's yogic path is different and there is no right or wrong. You cannot say, oh, but this is good and this is bad. Like it's not there. It's your path and it's your expression of this path.
And if you start doing that, you definitely got it wrong. Unless you're like really a master, like then of course go down in gratitude, but otherwise you probably got it wrong if you think you got it absolutely right.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Today, on the 1st of October, which is almost the end of Navratri, which is a celebration of Durga. I would love to celebrate Durga a little bit. And
Yeah, let's do it.
I mean, we celebrate it by existing, but I would love to hear from you. How is your Navratri? How do you feel? What does Durga feel to you? How does she feel to you?
How does Durga feel to me? I mean, she's everywhere, no? She's like the life, the energy behind all structure. She's pulsating always, this very moment. Also, she has many shapes, many forms. If we're talking Shakti, she's everything. She has many faces. She has many manifestations, many walks. I mean, you look around, there's living yantras everywhere. Me looking at you is already honoring her. And me being with you, looking into your eyes is already taking me one step closer to her. Because you are her and I am her. It's like a flow through the body. And well, for me, the practice of Navratri is more devotional and mantra based, but there's so many approaches to this. And if you can find a moment of stillness, it will flow through if you focus, I'm sure. Yeah. What are your reflections? Or how are you feeling
It
with
was
the
such a beautiful celebration for me. For those listening who have no clue, Durga is one of the main Hindu deities, a female Hindu god, you can say. And my most profound celebration of Navratri was actually the start. And I remember I already told you, Cecilia, but I'm gonna repeat it here.
please do?
There was, I'm like, she was here because this Navratri really pulled me back to my sadhana. Like, obviously, I've been doing my sadhana consistently, my daily practice consistently for a long time, but I feel like over the last months, I was really focus more on work and like a more masculine side of like my sadhanas and like getting stuff done. And then it was the first day of Navratri, and this beautiful Indian yoga teacher here in Pai came up to me and he gifted me some rupees to put on my Navratri altar. And he wished me a very beautiful, blissful Navratri. And that really touched my heart because it was such a beautiful share of his culture. But it also was such a beautiful reminder to me to really celebrate the feminine inside of me and to flow a little bit more with the feminine and to come back to that essence that is so present inside of me. But I've just been pushing away, like, I don't have time for it. I don't have time for it. Where we have time for everything. We just have to prioritize things. So I think my most profound Navratri feeling is just really that reconnection with the feminine inside of myself and the reconnection with the really devotional part of my practice, and a beautiful reminder of why I teach what I teach and why I share what I share with my clients, because it is so beautiful and it is so profound. And this Navratri was really a celebration of all the different expressions of the feminine in Durga, but also inside of myself. Because for me, it was really a reminder every day of like, oh, but this side of the feminine is inside of me as well, because everything that is outside of me and I'm devoting myself to is somewhere in here. So it was like a really warm, beautiful reminder of all that is very sacred, that is
Mm.
everywhere. And all that is very feminine and flowy and just making me feel like, yeah, like devotional mantra aspects. I've done a lot of bhakti yoga indeed, but also on Sundays I teach a kriya and I did like a very kali, like fiery one, and
I
it's
love it.
just so beautiful to me to see other people who have never been in contact with Kundalini Kriya Yoga before to like see and experience that, and to see like their energy shift, but also see kind of like in their eyes that blinker of like, wow, this exists. And then you know that they're gonna walk on their path and like find different teachers, find different ways of reminding that feeling. But to be able to witness that first feeling of someone who like does some kapalbati and they're like, whoa, and you're like, there you go. It
Yeah.
feels like being able to give the biggest present ever.
Get that naval pump going. Yeah, you would get them started. Yeah. I also wanna like Durga is also very she's fierce. She's a protector. She rides a lion. She multitasks. She does everything. She's a mother. Yeah, she's not
Mhm.
just receiving, she's not passive in this like feminine way that we're taught to. Actually, Shakti is very fierce. Durga is very fierce. Do not cross her. She has a machete. Hmm? She's very, very fierce, very present. She's also doing, you know? She has
Mhm.
like an objective, but she's equally as soft and caring. But that's always like like we also talk about quite often, how like the hardness and the harshness and the fierceness is actually just doing the protection of the soft. Yeah. So it's like it is protective and it is harsh and it is can be scary even. But because it's protecting something so precious and soft and like yeah, almost a little bit fragile, you know? So Durga is more than just yeah, being just like this feminine aspect of receiving because she's active, she's not necessarily passive. Yeah. So
I
so I
love
think
that
like
you.
this yeah, I think like this whole like masculine feminine thing, we have an idea of what the masculine is doing. Actually, I think like to be honest, Shakti is doing more. Shiva is just holding. The masculine
Yeah.
aspect is structure, but she's live, you know, but
I
she's
feel
also the
like,
void.
yeah, it's such an important like concept to me because oftentimes when people speak about the feminine, we're really talking about like the receptive, the caring, the soft, and like the emotional part, which is a big part of the feminine, but that like really fierce energy is something you really like the wild. Like the feminine is
Yeah.
everything and nothing in between. Like it is this wild concept, like of so much energy and so much fierceness and fire and like rah, while also being like, okay, I'm soft and receiving. And I think that that is indeed also so beautiful in Durga, that she has both of those sides, that she
Mm.
reminds you of everything. And just for everyone listening, please understand that when we speak about the concepts of feminine and masculine, we don't say man and women. Like every man has a masculine and feminine aspect inside of themselves, every woman has that as well. Like it gender and the masculine and feminine are two completely different constructs. And that is just a reminder that all of us have this beautiful Shakti energy in us, no matter which body we have or which gender we identify as.
Yeah, we can also rather than saying masculine and feminine, we can say lunar and solar. Yeah. And so the whole practice after the woman was sanitized is actually also just is so after the practice was sanitized because women feel so much more, or people who identify as women or live in a lunar cycle body, 28 days. Yeah, after the woman became sanitized, women weren't allowed in the temples. I think this is like worldwide as well. Um, Also, the yogic practice became like more based on this solar practice, even like a 24-hour cycle. Like vinyasa is very solar based. You know, we even need like different practices for female or for lunar bodies. So yeah,
The
I think
mudras can
there's
even be different. Mudras are like sacred hand gestures that you can make with either the hands or actually also the full body. Like a mudra for a lunar based body can be different than a mudra for a solar based body.
exactly, and we just run on different cycles. So yeah, there's I guess much more to polarity or lunar, solar, or I mean they work in harmony, you know?
They work
Like
together.
exactly. Yeah.
We're slowly gonna wrap it up for today. There's many more things I would love to talk about, but we're almost at an hour.
Yes.
I would love to wrap it up with asking you the question, if there's anyone listening right now and they feel pulled towards like the yogic path, what would be some of your advices?
Okay. Well, since we've been through like different topics, I would say first of all, honor that this path is not gymnastics. It is not sport. It is not a product. It is a path you choose to walk. And if you are feeling the pull to walk this path, I would say honor the teachings, honor the lineage, honor where it comes from. And since there's so many different ways of walking this path, really like don't go with logic, go with your heart. What does it feel like after you've practiced? Maybe try different practices and also know if you're living in a female, if you identify as a woman, if you're working on this lunar cycle, also know that you're not supposed to wake up every day at 5 a.m. and do vinyasas. This is meant for a solar body. Explore different things. Honor yourself, honor your body, your needs, and also know that yoga doesn't only happen on the mat. It's something that happens as you walk out in life. It's an integrated practice. One of my teachers, he explains it like it's like a motorcycle. And if asana or posture, what we do like in this, let's say in the gym, if that would only be yoga, it would be like only the steering wheel. Yeah, we want to combine everything so we can drive and ride on into life. So if you don't like yoga, I would say you probably just have to try again. If you didn't
Try a
like what
different
you've
form.
tried. Yeah, just try again. And it's so much more actually. Like asana is a preparation for pranayama, and pranayama is a preparation for entering meditation, and meditation is the entryway to find stillness, and through stillness we might experience yoga if we're really lucky. Yeah. So just I would say try it on the whole practice and go follow your heart. It sounds cheesy, but really like follow the feeling. Because for me it was really like through this bliss state that I found it. It's really when I connected with bliss, I was like, wow, I need to share this with people. Yeah.
I full-heartedly second that. Like, follow your heart, and in general, not only with yoga, following what feels good in the body, following what makes you feel nourished and grateful inside will always, always, always bring you in beautiful places.
Yes, exactly. And honor the sacred practice while you do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please. Keep what is sacred, sacred, and honor where
Yeah.
it comes from, and learn from those who can teach you about the culture behind it as well. I think that that is a really beautiful thing to do.
Yeah. If you want to do gymnastics, do a gymnastics class. Pilates is great too.
Pilates is amazing for the body.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a different thing.
Exactly.
That being said, thank you so, so, so much for having this conversation with me. And thank you
Thank you.
to everyone who was listening for tuning in today. And we will be back soon.
With your host, Mim Donsela.
Oh, that was a fun way of
Oh.
saying my last name.
Oh, Doncelar.